You know, when I hear the word entrepreneur, which has become very much part of the landscape in the last 5 to 10 years, but early on, when I was a young man, that word was not used as readily. However, the concept still existed. It was the concept of the independent businessman, the person who was sort of on the outside of the ordinary and was really doing well. And I guess the first entrepreneur that I saw was Uncle Cleve. This man grew up in the Mississippi Delta, an incredible man, whereas when I was a child, most of the men were working in the fields because that was the work of the Mississippi Delta. But here was a man, an African American, who by all stretches of the imagination should have been in the fields. That was the assigned task. Society had been set up for that. But there was something about Uncle Cleve that was entirely different, and I'll never forget it. First of all, he owned the ice house, and there's only one ice house. So think about this. You got one man who owns the ice house, and at the ice house, you do not have legal segregation because everyone has to get ice from the same place.
Right.
And he owned it.
Yeah.
And he walked differently. He took money to the bank. I mean, and knowing this was happening, it always painted a picture in my mind. I want to take money to the bank. That's a good thing to do. And because most people in my small world didn't bank. But he took money to the bank. But as I grew older, I realized that it wasn't just a notion of taking money to the bank as much as it was he was doing something that generated that money, that allowed him to do that. So when I think of entrepreneur, I really don't think of a word that starts with an E. I think of a man, I think of a woman, I think of someone who stands on the outside of the ordinary and gives you a clear picture that you can actually exit the ordinary highway and make a tremendous contribution to life.